Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires, and this is Couch's Podcast, episode number 169. We are almost all the way through Drummer Awareness Month, and my guest this episode is my dear friend, Ryan Go Time Moore. You might ask yourself, where and how does a fella get the nickname Go Time? And I'll tell you, you get it from me. I named him Go Time. Why? Because it's always go time for Go Time. He's ready to go. He's ready to go all the time. It's always go time. Go Time is the drummer in a fucking incredible band called Hippie Death Cult. And after knowing him for coming up on 20 years, I've seen him play in a lot of really cool bands. I'm really, 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 really happy to see him finally playing with a group of folks in a situation where he can fully express his most honest and pure voice and just be himself, which is great. It's great. We had a great time talking. Go Time also did some tech work with Loaded, as I've been around the world with this guy. I would go to battle with Go Time. Love him. Great drummer, great human. What can I say? Go check out Hippie Death Cult. They have a split and a full length album coming up. That's I've got mine pre-ordered already. Go check out their website. Follow them on socials. Follow Ryan. He's fun. He's fun. There's some great old videos from our first tour we did together. He was like video documenting. He was ahead of his time. He was video documenting all these ridiculous situations, and then posting them. And there's some pretty funny stuff. Kick the pole. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. It's probably not possible because I love this man. Hey, listen, if you're enjoying the Couchers podcast, by all means, please support us at Patreon, patreon.com/couchriffs. That's the only place where you can download the audio from the cover songs we do. Go Time, if you recall, he played the drums on Why Can't This Be Love by Van Halen. He's a huge Alex Van Halen fan. And that is clear to see when you get a look at his drum set. That's right. The drum set that appears in the video was not assembled for the video. That's Go Time's fucking drum set. That's his daily driver, That's how he does it. So over at Patreon, you can get early access to stuff. That is the only place you can download the audio of these cover songs that Couchers is producing. And it's the only place that you can truly express your appreciation of what we're doing in a way that further enables us. Because nothing says thank you like money. And I appreciate it. Because it costs money to do. Like, none of this money hangs out in my pocket. It is off into someone else's pocket very quickly, believe me. So thank you for supporting. I really appreciate it. This whole project is a lot of work. And when it doesn't cost me money, it feels really good. And that kind of support from you guys feels incredible. So thank you. It feels very good to be appreciated. Also, I want you guys to know that this guitar, which I co-designed, ain't she a beauty? I co-designed with Marvin Guitars. You guys have seen me play Marvin Guitars in the videos. I also have this double cut here as a Marvin. I have a Marvin J90 bass. It's a jazz bass. We co-designed this guitar to celebrate 100 episodes of the podcast. That was last summer. they're finally reaching stores right now. And this was a thing where when I talked to Keith over there at Marvin, I was like, let's do something that there's no direct sales. It only goes through independent guitar stores, and it'll be cool. Like, because at the time, like things, it's a pretty weird time, right? We want to be supportive of small guitar stores, independent stores, um, but also, yeah. Anyway, we're in the coolest stores, all right? So we're in 2 stores right now, and you can go check these out at the Guitar Shop in New York City. That's in Brooklyn. It's also the La Bella showroom. Our good friends at La Bella Strings, huh? They're also making some incredible Alinto basses and Carbonetti, and go check them out there or at River City Guitars. And yeah, that's it, man. That's it. That's all I have to say. We're going to get into the episode. Thank you for bearing with this long intro. Thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. And don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that hard, and it makes the world a better place. Try your best not to be a dick. Yeah, baby.
Hey, buddy.
No time. You can hear me?
I can hear you great.
Fuck, I can hear you perfectly, which is exactly how I like to hear you.
Yeah, good.
How you doing?
Pretty fantastic. Pretty fantastic. Just got back from a walk with Christy. We walked down to the library, took a nice stroll, and checking out the flowers and all the beautiful things in bloom.
Very nice.
Yeah, super nerdy grown-up shit that happens when you stick in the rock and roll game long enough. You gotta like start getting creative because whiskey and cocaine just isn't enough. Eventually, you gotta start sniffing flowers.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that whiskey and cocaine is not a sustainable diet?
No, it apparently it isn't. From what I've seen, yeah.
Crazy.
It'll get you through your 20s. I'll give it that.
It'll definitely get you through your 20s. And if you live through that, it's not good. In your 30s, it's a bad look. And your 40s and beyond, oh, look at Mr. Big. And your
Hey, Mr. Big.
It's just a, it's a mess.
It's a total
fucking
mess.
minefield of a life.
I'm grateful that I had some sense in my at the end of the 20s, moving into the 30s. I was like, this is just not gonna fucking work. And I got out of that game for the most part. I'm completely out of that game.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm good, man.
God, look at that stretch of guitars you got going there.
Oh yeah, look. I got that Yamaha way there in the back. You're very familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have my Nash Telecaster, my Cole Duo Glide. That's a Reverend East Sider, which is like with a tremolo, the silver sparkle. Then the Yamaha 335 thing. It's a SA 2000. And then this guy here that is kind of obscured is a guitar that just showed up in the mail a while ago. A buddy of mine just made it for me and sent
the one like that has like that sort of ashy looking body.
That's right.
Yeah, I saw your post about that. That's so cool, dude. I mean, friends are amazing, right?
Fuck, my friends are.
Yeah. Well, you attract good people because you're good people, Mike Squires.
Well, I love you for saying it.
Yeah. I just speak the truth, bro.
All you can do is try. All you can do is your best, right?
Yeah, that's all we're asked to do is our best.
Mr. Big, who's the biggest dog? You are.
Look at him. Little paws just...
Oh, this is how he likes to sit, man. He likes to, because he's big,
Right.
He wants to be up and looking around like the like all the other big people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's no dummy.
No. Where are you at? Are you at home?
I'm at home. Yeah. This is the living room. This is over here. This is the area that Christy uses for her pre-production and recording and stuff. And then this is just our basic TV setup here, but with all of the records kind of behind me.
Wonderful.
Lifetime of collecting that stuff.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So I was like, well, there's actually, we've got a great little house. I was like, there's a lot of cool stuff that I was like, this could be a cool background, but I was like, nah, I'll just put you in the rock and roll room here.
Nice.
Well, there's the Beatles poster, of course.
Yeah.
And then up top, ZZ Top Fandango,
Love
which back in, speaking of bad behavior in our 20s and 30s, when I was in the Titans of Oblivion, that was in our rehearsal space, and that's what we used to pull down to do all our fucking lines off of.
Yeah, you hork them right off the glass there.
Yeah, right off of Fandango.
Why not?
Below that is an autographed copy of 2112. I met Geddy Lee one day, and
where did you meet Geddy Lee at?
I met him. It's kind of shitty, but this is the way it went down. I had a friend who worked for a limo service, and he told me, he's like, so Rush is here. I know you've got a ticket, but they're staying at this hotel, and if you show up at this time, you're likely to see them. So I showed up, and I was like hanging out in the lobby, and Ged came down, and it was really funny because like I've been pretty fortunate to meet some pretty rad rock and rollers.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of times where like I just was not really able to handle it all that well. And I'm surprised that I handled it as well as I did with Ged, because like I saw him and I was like, Geddy, like, hey, sorry to bother you, but would you, I was just like you're my biggest fan. Would you mind?
What a coincidence! Here you are, and I just happen to have this record.
Yeah. So I was like
it was written in the stars.
What was so funny was that he grabbed the record. Let me see if I can do this properly. I got another one here. He grabs the record. He looks at it like he'd never seen it before. Like, what the fuck is this thing? And just like, here you go, and then it wasn't I would have met Alex too, but like pretty much right at that moment they were like, oh fuck, they're out here, because there were some other nerds that were actually outside waiting. Excuse me, Mr. Lee, can you sign this for me, please? But I got in there early and first, and then they diverted everybody other direction. I'm sure Neil wasn't anywhere to be seen, because that's kind of was his MO. He was not going to meet people.
Right.
Which I respect. I respect that. I would have loved to have met Neil, of course, but it just didn't turn out that way.
Right.
But yeah, so autographed Geddy Lee, Black Sabbath 4, and then that's the inside of the ZZ Top Tejas album. Do you know that photo?
Yeah, the gatefold spread of Mexican food.
Well, no, that's Tres Hombres.
Oh, Tres Hombres.
This one, let's see. I've got multiple copies of shit because we're here, right with the record. Reach over. It's the coolest fucking
this
photo.
will translate great for the video, but for audio people, you're shit out of luck on this one.
Well, anyway, yeah. So it's the coolest fucking photo. They're just in the desert, just shredding the gnar. They got their fucking step lean in.
Yeah.
Frank Beard's back there just shuffling away. It's, for anybody that doesn't really have their bearing about the ZZ Top, you need to dig into the 70s shit. It's so goddamn good.
Look, my love of ZZ Top goes at least to Eliminator.
Oh yeah, at least
Eliminator, I think is their Thriller. and fuck anyone who I'll fight anyone about it. I don't care.
It's really good. It's like you kind you know, like I forgot how good it was, and then like um somebody I can't remember. One of my homies was talking about the song Thug,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, I haven't listened to that in a while, and I put that on and was just like, fuck, this fucking song is so cool.
It's great.
It's so great. And then I listened to the whole record, and I don't even care, dude. Give me all your lovin', Sharp Dressed Man.
It's all great.
Say what you fucking want. Those are
fucking
great.
TV dinners, don't care. It's great. Under Pressure, great.
Yeah. Bro, Under Pressure is a monster.
Do you remember Loaded recorded that song?
Did you guys do a copy of that?
We recorded a cover of it, we were asked to record a song for a ZZ Top tribute album.
Uh-huh.
And of course, everyone was like, well, can we do Cheap Sunglasses? And they were like, it's taken. Okay, you know, what about Tush? It's taken.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they were like, well, the good songs are taken. And I was like, fuck you. Let's do Got Me Under Pressure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when we opened for them, that was their opening song.
Yeah.
They still played the song.
Yeah, I was working with you guys when Loaded did shows with them. You know, in Switzerland. There was that day we got to hang with those guys. And I got a little video. It's out there on YouTube of me hanging out with Dusty Hill.
Yeah.
Just talking shit. But yeah, that was fucking great. I think you must have recorded the ZZ Top covers thing after I had to join the circus and no longer be a Loaded tech.
Well, that was Reading era.
It was a Reading era?
Was that Reading era? Or
I don't know. No, because
2009.
I think Isaac was playing drums when we did the festival with those guys.
Are you sure?
The day that I remember, anyway.
Oh, my dog just lit it up on my lap.
Oh God, sorry, bro.
Oh.
Here, I'll show a little solidarity.
They're amazing. Yeah, I love them. But I mean, I know you've had a lifelong adoration for Rush. When I met you, I feel like you had a Rush tribute band that had just sort of broken up.
Yeah, when I first moved to Portland, I put out this was in 2003. I put an ad in the Portland Mercury, you know, just because that's what you could still do. You know, new to town, here's my influences, blah, blah, blah. And these guys reached out to me and they're like, you know, we're working on this Rush tribute thing. And I was like, fuck that. You know, like I'm not interested in doing a tribute thing at all. And I'm certainly not interested in doing a Rush tribute because I had seen one before and it was so half-assed and dumb. I just thought, you know, like if you're going to do a tribute act, you know, you got to make sure that you've got the goods. And you know, I'm in the tribute scene still, sort of. I got a foot in the fucking AC/DC tribute bands that are here in the Northwest. But like, you gotta bring the goods.
Let's pump the brakes, or at least engage the clutch for a moment. We can keep the motor revved, but let's engage the clutch. Okay. There's a difference between a tribute band and a cover band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a tribute band will go gear and outfit specific.
Yep.
You know, like you can't be, if you have long blonde hair, you can't be the guitar player in a Led Zeppelin cover band.
No, you got to get a wig.
You're either going to get a wig or you're going to dye your hair or you're going to fuck off. Those are your three choices.
Yeah.
But in a Zeppelin cover band, you could play a Charvel.
Yeah, you totally could.
Yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this was a tribute band. Like you had Octobans and fucking Rototoms and all that.
My kit at the time that I used with that was, yeah, it was a pretty expansive Tama Superstar, and I had a couple of rototoms because I didn't have the concert tom sizes I needed. I had bar chimes, I had the Chinese bell tree, I had a keyboard over there that I was playing the other things that I didn't have instruments for. Um, what else?
You know
I
what?
feel
If
like,
you were a real fan,
uh-huh.
you would have gotten yourself an above ground pool and filled it up every time you guys played and put a raft out in the middle of it and set your drum kit on that
Yes,
if
like,
you were a real fan.
yeah, I know what you're referencing, the old Tama ad where Neil was playing his shit out there. You know, those tapestries are they're worth a fuck ton of money, and I've had a couple of them slip through my fingers. Like they were just giving them away for a while, like anybody could get them. But now, if you can find one of those big posters of Neil for sale, they're like a couple grand. Can you
Wow.
believe that shit?
My friend Darius had one. It was always, we were roommates. He had one hanging up in our house. It was like his most prized home decoration.
Oh, dude, trust me. If I had one, it'd be right there where the Beatles are.
Right.
You know, I mean, as long as Christy says it's okay.
You're like I say, I do whatever I want so long as I'm allowed to.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah. Anyway, no, I did. I checked those dudes out. I went out and had a jam with them, and the fucking weirdest thing was that the Getty guy looked like Getty, and the Alex guy looked like Alex, and they fucking had the gear, and they could fucking deliver. So we spent 10 months rehearsing, and before we played our first show, which was really monumental, and then before we got to play the second show, the bass player, who this was his brainchild, he had some sort of a meltdown, and that was the end of that band. So
That was it.
I only got to do one show with them, but man, what an education just studying the music, you know?
Yeah, man. I haven't done a Rush song for Couch Riffs yet, mostly because a bunch of other people have.
Right. Have you seen the Charlie Bonani stuff?
Yeah, his quarantine videos were the first, like it was him and Alex Skolnick and Raw, right?
I think so, yeah. And God, they're so good. Like I'll say this: Charlie Bonani is the fucking man. Like
Pretty good.
of all of the guys who came out of that era, like I was always an Anthrax fan when they first hit. Like, you know, I like Metallica fine, but I just didn't connect with them in the same way. I don't know why, but I just didn't. But like I got State of Euphoria, and I was just like, this is the fucking shit. So, but like
his drumming is fucking excellent. He's an excellent drummer, and Lars is the band. I love Metallica, and I love the drumming in Metallica too. But sometimes it's not fucking top notch. They're a little bit like the Kiss of thrash.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, and speaking of Kiss, like, you know, I love Peter Criss, but he's not, you know, he's not John Bonham.
Right.
You know?
John Bonham wouldn't have worked in Kiss.
Oh, fuck no. But John Bonham would have worked with Kiss because he would have taken Ace aside and been like, we're going to do our own fucking thing, and it's going to be crushing.
Right. What if Ginger Baker was in Kiss?
Him and Gene Simmons probably would have killed each other.
Yeah, that would be great. I wonder what his what his character would have been. He would have been a lion, maybe.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Instead of
definitely.
Oh, fuck. He would have been a fucking lion.
Or he'd just been like, I'm fucking Ginger Baker. I'll be who the fuck I want. You fucking pussies just put on your fucking makeup and play the goddamn songs.
What a prick.
You saw Beware Mr. Baker?
Of course.
Oh, God. What a fucking great film. I love it, you know, and I love, like, guys like Stuart Copeland and guy from the drummer for Free. I feel bad for not remembering his name. And they're just like, he was definitely a role model for being a drummer, but not for being a person.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're fucking out to lunch, bro.
Go time.
Yeah.
Let's take it all the way back.
Okay.
So you grew up in Idaho Falls?
No, I grew up in Post Falls.
Post Falls.
Which is in Idaho, and there is an Idaho Falls.
Right.
You know how it is when you're one of those Falls kids.
I do.
Yeah, you get lumped in with all of them. But no, I grew up in Post Falls, which is in North Idaho, and it's smashed right between Coeur d'Alene, that some people are familiar with, and Spokane, Washington. Yeah. So, and it's all right in this. They're all just a few miles apart from each other. So I basically was Spokane music scene. Yeah.
How did you get interested in playing drums, and was that your first instrument?
It was my first instrument. I wanted to be a guitar player. I've been obsessed with music my entire life. My dad tells stories about when as soon as I could start to crawl, like I was headed for his records and his turntable, like I was just fascinated with it. And so I knew that I knew that I loved music, and I knew that it was like the most magical thing. And growing up in Idaho, in the 80s and the 90s, but like especially in the 80s where we're talking about the heart of it, it just felt really bleak, and I just really felt like I didn't like kind of fit into this dynamic in this space. And music was like, it was my first real escape. So I knew I wanted to do that. And I just, I would put on headphones and listen to 8 tracks. My Aunt Kim had this giant console thing, and I'd put on the headphones, and she had an 8-track of KTEL Records Rock 80. And I had some Kiss stuff, and I was absorbing all of this shit, and I knew I wanted to play music, but I also knew that we were kind of poor. Like we lived with grandma, and like all the cousins were around, and I just didn't want to bother my folks with asking for a guitar. And I don't know why that is. Because I was the oldest, and I was observing the way things were, and I was watching my cousins come up and shit, and I was just like, there's a lot of we're without a lot, so I'm not going to ask for this. Well, anyway,
mouths, yeah.
6th grade rolls around, and at that time in my school district, everybody had to be involved in the music program. So
right?
Yeah, it was pretty rad.
It was required.
It was required in 6th grade. You either had to be in band or you had to be in choir. And
that's pretty progressive of Idaho.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, I know. It was fantastic. So I knew I wasn't going to sing. I was like, there's no fucking way that I'm going to be a singer. I just lacked the confidence that it would take for that. And
also, who wants to sing those stupid songs?
Right. And I knew that playing electric guitar or guitar in the school band wasn't really an option. And my granddad, my mom's dad, he had played saxophone. He was a tenured saxophone player. I never saw him do it, but he talked a lot about it, Yeah. And I thought, well, maybe I'll play saxophone then. But, this was 1985, 86, and we managed to somehow have MTV. And I was watching a lot of MTV, and one day it like a light bulb went off. It was like, you know what? There's hardly any fucking saxophone players on MTV, but every single one of these bands has a drummer. I'm going to fucking play drums. So I did. So I was like, I'm going to play drums. And it was just like, it just made sense.
That's how you started in school band.
Yeah, school band.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I played all the way through till I graduated, and and when I was in high school, I was good enough that I was getting pinched by the college, uh, the North Idaho College, had me come and be in the jazz choir and a couple of other things. So I would, I was going to and playing with the college kids too. So I got, I'm a classically trained musician, a percussionist, and I can read, I can write. I had some mallet skills, and those have completely gone by the wayside because I just never kept up with it.
Well, you don't carry your timpanis around when you move?
No, no, I would have. God, trust me. There's been a couple of times where timpanis have rolled through the music stores here in Portland, like Revival Drum Shop, where I've worked and been affiliated with for a few years, and it's taken every ounce of energy to not fucking buy them. But I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with a 28-inch timpani?
Right.
And I know myself well enough to be like, well, I can't just have one,
Right.
I need bong bong.
Yeah.
So you got to have two. So I just stayed a fuck away from that.
Hey, let me ask you this. Were
Yeah.
you in drum corps or marching band through high school?
I was in the marching band. We didn't our music program didn't have like a drum corps.
Yeah.
And but I was in the marching band. I marched. I played in jazz band. I was in the concert and symphonic bands.
Were you playing snare?
What's that?
Were you playing snare or bass drum?
I played everything. But I got stuck on snare most of the time because I was top chair.
Were you guys doing stick tricks and stuff? Or was it a pretty
Oh,
strict?
fuck no, man. Well, we didn't even have like, my music director, Tim Sanford, was absolutely fantastic. He was great. He was a great influence on my musical career and my dedication to my craft. But he was a trombone player, and he had a little bit of a percussion background, but like, I didn't even learn how to play with a traditional grip until way later, and that's just that was just out of curiosity. I'm a matched grip player, and for you guitar players, I think you guys know what we're talking about. Like if you look at Buddy Rich, he's playing traditional grip.
Right.
If you look at Peter Criss, he's playing matched grip.
Traditional grip, your left hand looks like you're holding chopsticks, kind of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I would call it conventional because I'm not a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called matched grip.
Matched grip, yeah, because your hands match each other.
Right.
And that was used primarily for mallet or timpani performers back in the day. And matter of fact, it was pretty well frowned upon. The whole traditional grip thing got its start really from field drumming, for military purposes, the war drums and all of that shit.
Right. So why not use? What is the advantage of traditional grip?
Well, back in the day, the only way that these guys had the ability to attach a drum to themselves was with a sling or like a rope, and it would tie over your shoulder. And anybody's ever tried to do this will understand.
Of their exploded comrades.
Yeah. So it ties over one shoulder and comes around the other and fixes to the drum. And as soon as you tie it to the drum hangs like this. Right. So
awkward.
At an angle, for those of you who are not listening, at a 45. So in order to get that left hand to be able to play on the drum, instead of putting your arm up in the air and doing this, you turn it over and play this way. So that's the whole reason why it's done that way. So you had a few hundred years of guys doing this shit, and that was the way it was. If you play drums, this is how you do it. And it wasn't until like the advent of the modern drum kit, which started with the invention of the bass drum pedal, so that a guy could actually sit down and play the bass drum and the snare by themselves without having to have multiple drummers, that they're like, oh shit, okay, let's figure out a way to make this shit all a contraption. But But I
They
think
were
it was,
smart. They would have just had like a a cart, and pull a guy with a full trap kit. They would have built a trap kit, and one guy could have done a drum solo, and it would have just been like military onslaught.
I'll bet you somewhere in the annals of history, or annals, however you pronounce it, that absolutely happened. I guarantee it probably happened in New Orleans.
It
Um,
happened when the first time I saw Slayer.
yes. Um, so yeah, but I think it was the boom of the rock and roll '60s thing where like drum kits started getting too cheap and everybody wanted to be a drummer because of Ringo. That you had a lot of knuckleheads that were just teaching themselves to play and they just were just playing with matched grip, and that's really when there was a major shift, I think, in going out of the traditional style, which more of the jazz players were playing, into this knucklehead thing called rock and roll.
But let me ask you this:
Uh huh.
in the context of playing a kit,
Uh huh.
w- does traditional grip hold any advantage still? I mean, what happens when you go to play a roll? Your left hand is like a broken wing.
Well, it's like it's all about practice. If the it's funny, like there's guys who play strictly traditional that say that there's a total advantage over it, and I get it. When you work with it enough, you sort of understand, especially if you got your floor toms like over to your right and
Right.
you're rolling around your
That's
stick
hard.
being in that traditional, you're already able to reach the drum a little bit easier.
Oh, because it fucking angles over. It
Yeah.
dangles over the angle of the dangle.
Yeah, I mean, look at Stuart. I mean, Stuart Copeland is probably the greatest. Well, him and Vinny Colaiuta are probably the greatest guys who are still relevant and powerful players who can play with a traditional grip and just get them to crush. Um, I compro every time I go to a traditional grip with the snare drum. The volume, the feel, the sound of the drum, everything changes. So I just don't do that. I've spent 35 years or so playing with a matched grip, and it just that's how I've developed my skills. So I do practice traditional grip from time to time just because it's important for me to continue to grow as a player and try to get good one day. I'm trying to get good one day, Mike. And so I practice all kinds of stuff that I don't know, and traditional grip is one of those. It's just one of those things.
Let me tell you something funny. You're aware that it's Drummer Awareness Month at Couch Riffs, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would assume that we would talk anyway because we're homies. But yeah, this is why I'm here.
So it's Drummer Awareness Month, and this is the fourth conversation that I've had with the drummer,
Uh huh.
and I realize, I stepped back to doing one episode a week, but I think because there are too many drummers that I really want to talk to, and I want to cram them in to Drummer Awareness Month, of course, but 3 out of 4 of you guys have brought up Stuart Copeland,
Oh well, he's fucking rad.
right?
Like
Yes.
I don't know what to say. Like
Why do you
you know,
think Sting has got such a fucking bent hard on for him?
well, here's the thing. If you listen to live recordings of the Police, you kind of understand why Sting has a hard on for him, because they, as cool as those recordings are, and they're cool, like they start here at one tempo and fucking just go through the roof because Copeland is just leaning forward and just faster, 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 you know. And he's also a drummer, and we all run a little hot, and we're kind of fucking dicks, we're cool, but like we're kind of dicks. So I think that it's probably like a combination of like being an aggressive drummer, just being, his personality as well, and being American and Sting being English. It's just, I'm sure, like who fucking knows?
I didn't know he was American. I didn't know
Oh yeah, oh yeah. His dad, I think that his dad was in. Somebody's gonna get this quote exactly right, but his dad was in the military. Oh, here.
Huh. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah,
that he was American.
Yeah,
I heard him speak. I don't think
he was born, I think, stateside or somewhere like that. But he moved over. Yeah, he was born in Virginia.
Huh. That makes sense. His dad was a military guy.
Yeah. His dad was not only a former trumpeter in the Glenn Miller Orchestra, but one of the founding field officers in the CIA. That's what it was. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he spent his, and I'm reading directly from this book about the police, spent his childhood in Cairo and then 9 years in Beirut,
Huh.
And then I think he eventually ended up wherever he needed to be. So yeah, he's an American living abroad.
Right. Crazy.
With a dad in the CIA. Fucking monstrous.
That's pretty awesome.
It is.
Kinda. It also kind of sucks, but it's kind of awesome. It's a good story.
It is a good story. And he's a great drummer, so I'm not surprised that people are talking about him. He's not one of, like, it's funny, he should absolutely be one of my top 5 influential drummers, because my dad was listening to the Police constantly when I was a kid. Like, the Police were definitely part of my musical vocabulary growing up.
Your dad's a rocker. I remember that. You said he's into Zeppelin and yeah.
Yeah, I inherited his record collection, which has Kiss and Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath, all of this stuff I got from him.
Amazing.
It was pretty great.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
When were you able to eventually piece together a drum kit, or did the school have a drum kit that you would play during assembly?
Yes, there was a when I was in high school, there was a Ludwig kit that they used for the pep band.
Yeah.
Which so it played at the basketball games and the football games and all of that stuff, and pep rallies and stuff. So I was playing that drum kit, but I had a drum kit of my own. My parents had purchased, my first kit was a CB 700.
Yeah.
And I got it, I think, between 7th and 8th grade for Christmas. And
were you pumped?
I was super fucking pumped, but I was also, like, kind of looking at it going, this isn't a Ludwig.
Right.
This isn't a Tama. Like, what the fuck is
drum kit?
Well, what the fuck? Let's go, Yeah. So, but, like, it was crazy. Like, immediately, like, within the first few months, I had, dented the shitty Chinese drum heads that had come on it. I'd snapped a foot pedal, the footboard in half, so I had to get a new bass drum pedal. The cymbals were just dogs. So, I had to figure it out, and it was tough. There wasn't Craigslist, there wasn't really like an internet that was working. There wasn't I didn't even know anybody that was teaching drum lessons. I taught myself to play drum kit.
And let's be honest, music stores in the 80s were more like car dealerships. Like, they would take you for a ride. Like, the internet had not come along to level off, consumer friendly pricing.
Let's put it this way. I know that the price that my parents paid for that first drum set that I got was less than the money that I spent on that Tama Grandstar that I play in Hippie Death Cult right now. That fucking 10-piece kit. I paid less money. Yeah, I paid less money for that than my parents did for this fucking drum kit.
Right. Well, there used to be 100% markup on music equipment. 100%.
Yeah, I would say that
you could own a music store and get rich.
Yeah, and people did, you know.
For real.
I remember going into Burt's Music and Sound in Coeur d'Alene or Music City in Spokane and just seeing drum kits and being like, what the fuck? This shit is so cool, you know, like, and just marveling after this stuff before I got one. Then I got mine and I was like, oh, okay, well, let's try to just fucking learn how to dominate this and figure out how to get something else. And I played the shit out of those drums for like the first 7 years.
You had that kit for 7 years.
I had that kit for 7 years, yeah.
So you were playing it in your first bands?
Oh, absolutely.
How did it serve you?
You know, it did. It did the job. I learned a lot about drums and how to tune drums, how to set them up. You know, a lot of trial and error with that original kit. And then I bought my first professional set. I bought it from Bad Animals in Seattle. I had gone to the Art Institute and got a degree in music recording and engineering, and then I scored an internship and then eventually a job in the dub room at Bad Animals, which was pretty fucking dope.
Right.
Although it was right at the end of it was right when the music industry was crashing. So it was just like, I just stepped in and was like, here I am. And they're like, too late. But they had this, but they were starting to liquidate all of this gear that they had at Bad Animals. And they had an early 80s Tama Superstar in there in cherry red or wine red finish. And I bought that for $400, and I'll never forget the first time I sat down in it and played it. I was like, holy shit, this is a completely different experience.
Shells only you got from them?
Yeah, shells only. I don't think there was any hardware, but like, you know, it was a snare and like 4 toms and a kick drum, and that just, it changed my playing overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but anyway, I played the shit out of those CB700s until then.
Coming from Spokane to Seattle to go to the Art Institute, which is what we kind of skipped over that little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
How many bands had you played in Spokane before you went to Seattle? What year was it when you landed in Seattle exactly? And what was that transition like, going from, you know, to the big city? Okay.
Well, yeah, it was a big city, really. Yeah. My high school band, the first guy I ever played music with was this cat named Joe Osborne. He came over to my house and he brought over a guitar and he was playing a bunch of Metallica riffs, but I didn't know who Metallica was. I just thought he had fucking cool guitar riffs. And so we were fucking playing these songs. I was like, this guy's fucking great. And then he told me that those were, I was like, you know, what do you call that song? And he's like, this is Seek and Destroy. This is a Metallica song. What are you fucking talking about? And I was like, oh shit. So him and I played together for a minute, and then I got asked by these 3 guys to be in their band so we could play the talent show. That was Chris Demers, who is still my best friend to this day. Matt Gonzalez.
I know him. Did he work at the music store in Spokane?
That's right.
I met him there when I was working for PRS.
That's right. You did. So him and I and Matt and DJ put this band together called Volume Overdose. And we played my high school talent show in 1991. And then we played together for a little bit, and then DJ wanted to do something different. So Matt and Chris and I started writing like kind of progressive hard rock metal stuff. We were super influenced by Megadeth's Rust in Peace album. and that sort of thing, and Dream Theater and shit like that had come out, and of course I was listening to Rush and stuff by then. So we had this band called Mulligan Stew, of all goddamn things, and we played together for the rest of my high school years, and then which I graduated from Post Falls in '94, and I went to Seattle that fall or whatever to start.
Like the next
right after
semester. Yeah, wow.
I kind of, as I like to say, I got out of Idaho as fast as I could. When I was 18 and I left, and Seattle was a fucking amazing, beautiful experience, because like growing up in the small town and just watching, the Hollywood side of entertainment, like what's on TV, what's on MTV, what's all this shit, and just kind of like being in a world where you're surrounded by mountains and rednecks and just going, this doesn't relate. I don't relate to any of this. Like where's this world that I'm seeing? And I went there and I got a glimpse of it for sure. And I love being in the city. I will probably always live in a big city now. It just really suits my speed. So I went to the Art Institute and didn't really. I jammed with a few people when I was out there, but for the 2 years that I was in school, but didn't really have a band. And it wasn't until I actually came back to Spokane and put together a band with Matt and Chris and another guy, DJ or excuse me, Doc, that was when things started getting really interesting, because I played with those guys again for a few years, and then they wanted to really go into like the new metal, Korn, Deftones kind of sounding shit, and I still really wanted a band that sounded like Led Zeppelin. So we split, and I made a conscious choice at that moment. I was like, I'm not going to be without a band, and I'm going to be on a stage before these motherfuckers are. And so then I just started playing with anybody and everybody that needed a drummer. And that was really great, because it forced me to really study hard. One of the things that I would say has been a real advantage that I'm really blessed with is that I've got a pretty good musical mind and memory, because I've listened to so much music. I just know where things are going to go. So I was able to, take on a bunch of different stuff. And probably the most influential group I ever played with was a cover band. It was a variety band. These older guys who had their run in the 60s, in the 70s, and then the 80s, and they were like, well, fuck it, we still want to play music. So they put this band together called Nobody Famous, and I joined that group and started playing like at the country club and at weddings and all of this stuff that you would think is like super uncool and not great. But the beautiful thing was, like, I really liked these guys. Like, we got along really great. They appreciated the fact that I could play as well as I did, even though I was 10, 20, 30 years younger than them. And I knew all of these songs because I had just been absorbing music, listening to the radio constantly. And I started making a fuck ton of money. And
the thing about playing in a cover band, I wish I knew that when I was in my 20s in Seattle. I had my head up my ass and I was a snob about it.
Yeah. But I had a revelation, at some point, because at first I was like, God damn it, I don't want anybody seeing me doing this. I don't want to talk about it. But after a couple of gigs, I was like, I'm having fun. I'm playing music, and I'm
paying the rent playing drums.
Yeah, and I'm getting paid. And, sometimes some of this like older high class tail would fucking take me home and, and have their way with me. So I was like, this is fucking bitching. Okay, cool. I accept. Let's do this. and then from there, you know, like I just started playing with everybody that I could, trying to find, you know, my dream band. And,
Right.
you know, I've had it a couple of times. I'm really proud of what I've got going now, certainly.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's what started all of that. And that would have been,
That was in Spokane.
that was in Spokane. Yeah, Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. And then I finally left that area and moved to Portland for good in 2003.
Yeah.
And I've been here for the most part ever since. You know, I had some stints in LA, of course, you know, and then spent a lot of time just living on the road. But I've been based out of Portland since then. And I don't even fucking know how many bands I've played in since I've been here.
I know, so many.
It's nuts.
How did you come to decide Spokane over Seattle? Portland over Seattle? Did you know people there?
This is really sort of hippy dippy, but it's just the way it went down. I don't know how to explain it any other way. But I had been, I was living in Spokane and I was playing in this ska band called Civilized Animal, and we came to Portland to play. We came to Portland to play a show, and it was my first time really in Portland, and there was something fucking emanating from this place, this energy, this vibe that I picked up on immediately, and I was just like,
what year was
whatever the fuck is happening here, I like this and I want to be here.
What year was that?
That would have been 1998. 98, 99. Yeah.
And where did you guys play when you went there?
Well, we played at the Tonic Lounge. It was the first spot that I had ever played in Portland. We played at the Tonic, and we weren't even like, and I didn't even know that there was more cool shit in Portland because we just came in, went to the Tonic there, which is, you know, if you're not familiar with Portland, it was, you know, it's on the east side of town. It's an area that's kind of cool, but not really all that exciting. But you know, and we played a shitty game.
A lot since then, though.
Yeah, there was like 10 people there. You know, it was kind of it was a shit gig. But I just thought, well, I like this. I want to come back here. And so every time we came back and played shows, and we'd start playing at like the Ash Street or, you know, something like that. And I knew, I was like, okay, this is it. This is where I want to go. This is my next move. And I made a plan. I knew that I was like 25, 26 years old. And I knew that I did not want to turn 27 years old and still be living in Idaho, in Spokane. So I set a deadline, and I moved to Portland April 2nd of 2003, which was 2 days before I turned 27.
Right.
Yeah. And then about a year and a half later, I met you.
Yeah, that's right. I think I must have moved there 6 months after you, 9 months after you at the most.
Yeah. Nuts. And I like, you know, meeting you is it's so crazy how that happened. Because at that time that, you know, that I was working at that coffee shop, that was when I had the Rush tribute thing still brewing. And I was playing with a few other cats, and I always had a flyer in my back pocket for a show. Like, here, I'm playing the show. Here, I'm playing the show. And, you know, you give these flyers out to people. You're working at a fucking coffee shop, and you get to know these people every day. Like, what a better opportunity to meet. And then you come in.
Nobody ever shows up, though.
No, nobody. But you did.
Yeah, fuck yeah, I did.
You did. It was great. I think you came to see all the dead horses at...
bowling alley.
Was it the bowling alley?
Think so.
Yeah.
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 They used to have shows at the bowling alley.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
Yeah.
That was weird, but it was fun. I miss the days when you could just have shows in weird. First of all, I just miss the days when we could have shows. But then when people would just have them in weird places, like a bowling alley or a fucking laundromat or a fucking condemned grocery store or somebody's barn, you know? Great.
And so, I mean, you came over to I was still drinking then, of course.
Yeah.
My memory is a little foggy,
You
but
were living at that house right by Stumptown, and I
well,
came
you
over
tend
to
to
your
think I
house,
did.
and
You
we
came
tried
over with
to.
your drums, right? We tried to play a couple once or twice.
Uh huh.
I just didn't have any. I just didn't. I had no motivation to write anything, and so, you know, that makes it pretty tricky.
Yeah, it was.
You
I,
gotta,
I
yeah.
remember it being a little weird, and I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anything about you at the time. I didn't know that you had done the alien crime syndicate thing, and I certainly didn't know about Loaded and like any of that stuff. So I just thought, well, I guess he's just struggling. Maybe one day we'll jam.
Oh, hey, buddy, I was struggling. Believe me.
Well, I wasn't that far behind you, man. I had mine just right on the heels of that. So
Right.
yeah.
Uh, but it wasn't that. I guess it was like probably 2008, like
Hmm.
3 or 4 years later. I was drunk at a company party,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And the company party had the karaoke from hell that
Uh-huh.
we were playing in.
Hmm.
And I sort of just said, "Hey, you're great. You you want to work for the band?"
Yeah. That's exactly what it is, and I remember I
Basically how it went down, right?
I remembered that. I was just like I'm holding on to this idea, and then we didn't you never asked me about it again, and of course you were living in Seattle and whatever, but I was playing in that band Roxy Epoxy in the Rebound, and you came to see us in Seattle, and I was just like, hey, what the fuck? Are we going to do this thing or not? And you're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. You asked me to be your tech. I would do that. And so that kicked off that fucking adventure,
We
which,
had a lot of fun.
god damn, dude, I am so grateful for that experience. And I just think like how fucking lucky I was to have had that time at all, with you guys and traveling around the world and just like, and then learning how to do it. Cause like I'm capable of handling some gear, but like I had to learn a lot of shit in order to be able
You had
to,
McBob there in the
oh
beginning,
yeah.
right? And you know,
Yeah.
he's got his own teaching style, but he's a man of experience,
Mick Bob he's a, he's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi, dude.
and he's hilarious.
Yeah. He just, he just knows how to fucking do shit, and he knows how to teach you stuff without you even realizing you're being taught, which is amazing, you know.
Right.
Yeah, McBob. Yeah, I priceless education. Super super fun. And I also had to learn how to fail with grace. Um, because I did fail and let you guys down when your fucking amp took a shit, and I just threw my arms in the air like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? You're just like, wrong. That's not the move. That's not the move. You got to fail with confidence and figure it out, son.
I think it. I don't think it was my amp. I think that it was my effects switcher. And do you remember that we ditched it that day? That was the last day I ever used it,
Yeah.
and I came home and sold it from that tour. I just had everything on a pedal board after that. So I had all my, for people listening, I had a switcher up front. It ran a MIDI cable back to a rack, and that rack had like a brain in it and then a drawer with all my pedals, and I would just hit a button and it would engage different effects loops. Well, one of the effects loops wouldn't turn off, and in that loop was a delay, and it just was creating chaos.
God damn. You know, like if that shit would have worked properly, that would have been a fucking amazing design. But I
I
don't
mean, a
think.
lot of people use things like that to great effect. Fewer and fewer people are using them now because digital stuff is getting to be so good, and also pedals are smaller, and people want to travel lighter, so
Yeah.
they'll either use an all-in-one, effects and an amp modeler, or just an effects modeler, or have a medium to small, whatever. They'll have a pedal board and use a backline amp.
You guys are nuts with the pedal. It's amazing, like sitting and watching what the guitar players put themselves through.
Well,
Like,
you've got two gongs. You're not really one to talk.
yeah, but it's like I don't have a gong pedal. I
Can you
have the
imagine
real
if you had one, if you spun around, and there's got to be some sort of gag where, like the old
yeah. I could have a projection. I could have a screen with a projector with this projecting a gong and just air gong.
go.
Uh, yeah, I know. Like, but yeah, Edward from my band Hippie Death Cult. He's got an incredible array of pedals. He's always fucking swapping shit out and changing stuff out. And we were talking about some goddamn weird switch in this pedal that makes this thing just a little sweeter. And I'm like, I got this fucking cabinet right next to my ear, and I can't hear a goddamn difference between anything he's doing.
That's why.
Yeah.
God, do you have my orange amp still?
Yeah, I sure do. That
Your orange amp?
Well, yes, it's ours. Can we just call it ours?
Well, yeah, it's yours, fair and square.
Yeah, I do have that.
I look for those on Reverb still.
Wow.
You know.
They quit making the OR50 completely.
I just feel like that was a terrible move on their part. But
I really do too.
People aren't buying, high powered amplifiers really.
Well, Orange is usually making stuff that's like 100 watts or more, or like the Tiny Terror. There's nothing in between, really.
Well, there is now.
There is
all kinds of shit. Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, because I've seen other oranges that just are 100 watts or more and fully loaded with all of this different circuitry and knobs, and that OR50 that I got from you has, I think, 5 knobs, and
perfect, right?
You don't fucking need anything more.
It's a really sweet amp.
Yeah, it really is.
My first orange was the TH, right?
Yeah,
100. It was like their high gain amp, and it did not suit me.
No, I like the OR circuitry because it's more in line with the history of what those amps used to be. When I was
with the master volume, turn that thing off and just let it fly.
I've tried everything with that fucking thing.
It's pretty sweet. You just fucking put everything on 10 and get out of the way.
What we use it for primarily right now is Ben. Ben runs his keyboards through that thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's got a Nord that he runs. He runs his electric piano through that thing and gains it up a little bit. So we get that kind of that John Lord sort of growly Deep Purple thing.
Yeah.
It's so cool, man.
That's rad.
But that rig is so fucking, that cabinet is so heavy that we never take the cabinet out. We just take the head and one of the Marshall cabs and just fucking run that.
Let's talk about Hippie Death Cult because it's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so fucking stoked to see you in a band that is seemingly excelling and getting some attention, and like it's being recognized, outside of of just playing in Portland, you know?
Yeah, it's been really exciting to see that happen. You know, after years and years of just chasing whatever fad was happening, and as a drummer, if you're not writing material, you're really at the mercy of whoever it is that you can be lucky enough to play music with.
Right.
And so, like I played in ska bands, and I played in country bands, and I played in shitty pop bands, and I played in, like it all,
Yeah.
So, at some point of like maybe 5-6 years ago, I was living in Los Angeles and had gone down there, with a Rolodex full of names that I thought could fucking help me, get a leg up. And the truth was it didn't help,
Yeah.
And because because I just couldn't connect with people that I gave a shit about, or like that would be willing to practice or write or whatever. And I just thought, you know what? Fuck this. If I'm going to come back, if I'm going to play music again, I want to play the music that I want to play. I want to play the drum set that I want to play. And I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
And that, I was 40, at the time, like 39, 40 years old.
Right.
And just thought, well, I'm about to age out of this fucking young man rock and roll business anyway, so I might as well do whatever the fuck I want. And I finally like connected with those people, and I met Eddie through Laura Phillips, and I played in Roxy Poxy and the Rebound together.
Huh.
She was the bass player for that band, so we had some history. And Eddie had been trying to get this thing off the ground for a number of years, and with the wrong people, and then she connected us, and I remember asking him, I'm like, how do you feel about double bass drums? He's like, I think they're great. I'm like, no, I mean like 2 bass drums, not a fucking pedal. He's like, no, that's awesome. You want to do that? That's great. And I was like, cool. Like, how do you feel about gongs? He's like, gongs are fucking rad. And I'm like, okay, then we can jam. And seriously, that's exactly.
Hey, can we talk about your mobile gong service for a minute?
Yes.
Let's engage the clutch again and talk about your mobile gong service. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, so I tried to get this mobile gong service together, where at the time I had a minivan, and I had the gong, my first gong, strapped in, and you could slide the door open and just fucking smash the gong. And the premise was to just show up and gong people.
That's like DoorDash.
Yeah, like a DoorDash. Like you could be gonged, or you could pay someone to be gonged, and I was only able to do it a few times, but it was pretty great. I just thought, and this was before I like knew exactly what I was gonna do, because I bought my first gong just like because I wanted to have one. Alex Van Halen has a gong. I need a gong.
Yeah, nobody comes into a gong, because they don't want one.
Right. So I was trying to justify this behavior by creating the mobile gong service, and it was short-lived, but like I will fire that shit up at any time.
I think you should consider reviving it. I mean, with all these app services, you could probably work with someone in Portland. There are some techies, and it could be kind of like Lyft, and you could call it, I don't know what you'd call it, but what do you call the thing that you strike a gong with? Is that just a mallet?
It's just a mallet, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The gong that I have now, I've got just one big one and a little tiny meditation gong, but that's not going to do shit. But I just have the one big gong now that I use with Hippie Death Cult, and it's too big to hang in the van now and do the drive by. So I need a cart, so we can just like a cart by gong
Maybe
service.
you get you pull it behind the van on a little like one of those little like utility trailers.
Yeah, I'm
Because
cool
then
with
you
that.
can also light it on fire. You could like
Yeah.
no,
I've got a homie who for he's been on the hook for a while for like we need to figure out how to fucking get this thing to be on fire. Uh,
not that hard. It's just like a barbecue, man.
yeah, yeah.
This is
I just have to outfit it with some propane, stuff, and then
yeah,
get it done.
yeah.
Um, but it's not going to happen in small venues because you're not allowed to have fire now anymore.
Look,
Uh,
it's not going to gong itself.
yeah, I need a big stage. We need some arena shows, and absolutely, without a fucking doubt, fire is essential to that.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let's talk
So
about your rad band again.
Eddie and I, Eddie and Laura and I started working on material together, and he's got so much shit recorded from years and years and years of working on this stuff that like every couple of months as we finish a song, he's like pulling something out, or I have like a huge playlist of potential songs to go through. It's pretty fucking remarkable. But we found a singer through Craigslist, Ben Jackson, who is fucking
Craigslist, amazing.
goddamn, yeah. And we're so fortunate that he's a great singer, which that's the hardest thing to find is somebody with that voice. So
Well, let's be honest. The hardest thing to find is a good drummer.
well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
And
Yeah, that's how
that's
I
why
feel.
we have Drummer Awareness Month here.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have a great drummer, then you don't have a great band.
That's it.
Yeah, it's true.
Drummer sucks, band sucks.
Totally. Yeah.
So you guys finally have all the pieces put together.
We have all the pieces to put together. We recorded a demo and that was initially just to get us some shows, and three of those songs ended up on our first album, 111.
That was a year and a half ago.
I think it came out it officially came out in 2019.
Yeah.
And I'm really in love with that band. I was really in love with the music that we had recorded at that time. I was pretty excited about what we were doing, and I thought, well, it'd be really nice if people listened to this and liked it as much as I do. But ultimately, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And what happened is, lo and behold, we're fucking selling records all over the world, which is nuts. I'm like, how the fuck are people in China finding out about us? How the fuck are people in Australia finding out about us?
Because they have
It's
the
like
internet there.
it's amazing. It's amazing. So we put out that first record, and had we not had this pandemic sideline us, we'd have been touring in Europe and doing all that stuff last year. But we did get sidelined like everyone else, but we put our energy into working on a new record. We recorded a body of music. We actually recorded more music that could fit on a record because our songs are so goddamn long. So we have a split that's coming out on Heavy Psych Sounds just about a week before our full length is. Yeah.
I pre-ordered both of them.
Oh my god, dude, you're the best. I will say, I think you're gonna like it. Yeah,
I'm certain of it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm certain of it.
It's the best. The Circle of Days record, especially. I not to take anything away from the split, because both of those songs are fucking incredible too. It's all like the two kind of work together as a record, really. As far as we're concerned. But this is the best thing I've ever done, hands down. No question. I'll say this. It's the only thing I've ever recorded in all of my years of doing this that I continuously listen to.
Right.
Like, how often do you listen to anything you record? Like, it's kind of doesn't happen much. You start asking musicians about their records. They're like, oh, I never listened to that shit. But I have been listening to this record a lot, and I love it. So I hope other people love it as well.
Is there still a big stoner rock community in Portland? Is that still sort of the champion of all of Portland?
I think so. Yeah.
Remember when laptop blink blink music was the thing that everyone was doing in Portland? It was so annoying.
Yeah. Portland's interesting because there's the music community is incredibly divided, which is really unfortunate. Like it's so cliquey, and it's probably like this everywhere, but like the town, it feels like like kind of a smaller city that should, like, we should all be sort of embracing, each other's music, and there isn't a lot of that happening. Yeah. And there's not even a lot of that happening in the hard rock and stoner scene either. There's, a lot of metal players are super elitist, which is so dumb, and then but the stoner and hard rock scene is pretty vibrant. I just don't know that everybody is connected to each other in the same way. I think there's a lot of competition, and everybody's trying to fucking step out in front of Red Fang because that's the bar. And, and I get it, like I want people to like my band as much as they like Red Fang as well. But I don't think that we should all be, I don't know. It seems like people could be a lot cooler about what we're doing on a whole in the music scene.
But Go Time, you're 45?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are a lot of the people who have this competitive shitty spirit or whatever? I'm filling in the blanks here saying
sure.
that.
Uh-huh.
But they're younger, right?
I have to assume that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to tell how old people are in the stoner rock community as well because they're so unkempt. Yes.
They'll have beards and fucking squirrel hunter outfits.
Yeah. So it's like, how the fuck old are you?
Is there a stoner rock band called Duck Dynasty yet?
There should be.
Right.
I had a really uncomfortable interaction. It was only uncomfortable to me because I was like foot and mouth, but I was talking to some guy that was in the, in another band. And I was like, well, you and I are about the same age, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm 33. And I'm like, oh, sorry. God damn it. You look terrible.
Nobody in your band wears a beard, huh?
No.
That's rare.
Not even Laura. Yeah.
That's really rare, I'd say.
Yeah. It's just not the thing. I can grow a beard in about 5 minutes. It's not a problem. But I just don't like it. Yeah. And, I don't know why it's that way, but we just don't. None of us are doing that.
Are you guys long hairs? Long hair?
Eddie has long hair and Laura have long hair, and I would, except I fucking lost all mine on the crown. So I was just like, I refuse to be one of those fucking guys. So I just shave it off now.
Yeah, that's what I would do. And
Ben can grow long hair too, but his kind of grows weird, I think, and so he just starts chopping it before it gets out of hand. Yeah. So him and I both keep it pretty close to the dome, and then Laura and Eddie keep it long. I think Eddie Like there's pictures of him when he was like 5 years old and he had like long hair. You know, he's just always been a long hair.
Kid, yeah.
Yeah, pretty great. He's the most rock and roll fucking guy uh, that I know. But he's like a Zen Buddhist rock and roll fucking meditation guru master guy, which is nuts. So like, you know, he's super peaceful and calm and all about all of that and tranquil, but he's absolutely lives and breathes rock and roll, shreds the shit, practices all the time, is always writing,
Yeah.
you know, and he's really great with the camera and all that stuff. So he's taking pictures. All of the photos you see are us. The videos are us. It's the album he recorded. Like we're just completely a self-produced, contained machine right now.
Have you guys linked up with Moss Generator yet?
Yeah, you're talking about Tony, right? Tony Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played a gig with those guys, and Tony was so fucking rad. He was really into what we were doing. We connected with him that day. He made he made a reference between Les Binks of Judas Priest and myself, which just tickled me pink because I fucking love Les Binks.
Yeah.
And then he mastered for vinyl our first record. So he mastered the 111 album. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that guy's band so much.
They're fucking killer, dude.
I really want to be in that band. There's just no place for me there.
Yeah, it's a 3-piece. You know, he is the guitar onslaught for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a good bass player, though. You know.
Yeah. You are a fucking killer bass player. I've watched your progression over the last couple of years with Couch Riffs too, which is, you know, you like make your way to the bass, and then that's just where you've been.
I'm gonna find a bass gig. That's
what
I'm gonna do.
You deserve a bass gig. They deserve you, Mike Squires.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. Are they cool?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. Hard to say.
So, when is the release date? When are the release dates for the split and for the full length?
I think it's May 14th or May 16th for the split. Let's take a look here. Yeah, May 16th. May 16th is the Doom sessions, and then May 21st is Circle of Days.
It's coming right up, buddy.
Yeah, it's coming up soon. We just dropped another single from Circle of Days, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. So you can listen to Hornet Party now if you haven't heard that.
I'm gonna go do that.
It's pretty shred-tastic. One of the things that I love about what we've managed to do somehow is we've recorded 7 songs that don't sound really anything like themselves. You know, everything is its own kind of vibe, which is hard to do. I think it's just rare to do and to see bands do, especially in the stoner rock scene, because it's all pretty down tempo. You know, we're in here, we're drop D, and we're fucking down, we're singing a song about weed or some fucking car. Yeah. You know, like our first record is like all of the songs have a pretty kind of similar vibe, but they're all different in their own way. This one is really, you know, we really spent some time cultivating this stuff quite a bit. Like I worked my ass off, especially on these tunes, because the first record, like I said, it was, you know, initially it was a demo. So, you know, the songs that are on there, I don't really even play them that way when we play live. They're, you know, it's not like it's a completely different song, but like I just realized the parts better. So I knew that going into this record, that I wanted to make sure that I played this shit exactly the
Right.
way that I wanted to get it across, and I think I achieved that. When I listened to it, I'm like, this is fucking cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, you're a lifer.
Hmm.
I've never once heard you say, "Oh, I think I'm gonna just stop playing for a while and try this other thing."
Yeah.
And I guess I want to know what motivates you, and how do you how have you dealt with over the years um the balancing that have to make a living thing, giving it how have you reckoned having to give energy to things in your life that you know the energy belongs somewhere else, like belongs in playing music?
Yeah. I I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know why it's come down the way it does. There's been a few times in my life for sure, or I just thought, God, if I was driven to be a fucking doctor or a lawyer or anything other than what I'm doing right now, I would have monetary success, right? We would
Right.
we would we would be it would just be a lot easier to get the bills paid. But at what cost? Like what's the quality of life? What are we fucking even here for anyway?
Right.
So I feel really fortunate in that I knew really early at a young age that I wanted to do this. But I will say I was kind of deceived into thinking that it was going to be easier than it was. You know, like I saw the way that like all of those artists in the 80s and shit were just like exploded, and I was like, I want to be in Motley Crue. Like I want to fucking be in Guns N' Roses. Like I want to tour, and I just expected in a way, when I was 15 years old and putting my first band together, that it was just a matter of time, and we're gonna open for Pantera, and then fucking everything's gonna fall into line, and people are gonna love our music, and it never really happened that way. And there's been a couple times where I actually did sidestep my career for a bit as a player. One of those was the few years that I was working with you guys. Like, um, but I thought, well, this could be an avenue. I knew that there was.
You
I
would
knew
go
that there
home
was.
and you would still play music.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I knew that there was
Like
other.
I would go home and I would fucking go back to being a barista or working at the pawn shop or whatever.
Right. But I didn't have a band that was like that was a priority,
Right.
and that's why I was able to dedicate the time. And I also thought, well, here's an avenue that I could pursue that I know has worked for other people, and they've gotten pretty rad gigs out of being techs.
Right.
And it could have worked had I stuck it out a little bit longer, but it just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Los Angeles, and I went down there to pursue this pretty heavily and just got deflated. There was about a year and a half or so that I stepped away from playing music completely. My drums were just stacked in my little tiny apartment there, and I was doing production work, like working for like on commercial photography and all of this shit, and making a lot of fucking money. Um, but I wasn't really all that fulfilled. There's something, every musician who does this, because they feel compelled to, I think understands that this is this there's so much joy, and it's a part of you that you have to express in order to feel whole. So so I've just I've made it a priority, to do these things, and it means that like I've had to work in coffee shop gigs, or like service industry gigs where ultimately if I had a fucking big, like a big tour come up and I had to do it, I could say to the boss, like, I'm going to go do this thing. And they say, well, you're not going to have a job when you come back. And I'm like, you think I give a fuck about that? See you later, but it's meant that, like, there was periods of my life where all of my shit was in the storage unit and I would come home from tour and live on couches, like I lived on my buddy Lance's couch for a while when the 4 years that I was touring with March 4th, that was my life with those guys, like all the shit's in storage and I'm living on somebody's couch for the week that I'm home. And I don't know, man, like I know that those times were hard. I know that that it can be really demoralizing when you're just like, fuck, I've got $27 in my checking account and I got no fucking gigs. What the fuck am I going to do? But I think when I get, I just know that at the end of my days, whenever the fuck that comes, when I look back on my life, I'm going to be so much happier that I just stuck it out because this shit is rad, like it brings me a lot of joy. When I sit down and I play my drums, I still go to the same places that I did when I was 10 years old and learning to play them, like, and if I didn't do that, then I would have given up on this a long time ago.
We've all met miserable rich people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And we've also all met really happy poor people. I just think
well, you got to work on you have to work on yourself, and you have to be willing to look at yourself, in order to find some peace with that shit. Just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean the problems go away. And I understand that now, like as I've lived longer, I really understand it more. I still would like to challenge that. I would really like a lot of money and just see how comfortable I might be.
Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe it's maybe it's like doing a bump. Maybe it just enhances your happiness.
Hey man, let's try. I've been doing it this way long enough. I know that I can. Let's just take it up a notch. So yeah. We haven't talked about, I don't know if you want to do this or not. We've been chatting. I love this, by the way. Thank you for asking me to do this. But we haven't talked about drummers or influential drummers. Is this stuff that you're interested in? We talked about
Stuart Copeland, but yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. So
let me guess. Hold on. We have Neil, we have Stuart, we have Bonham, which I know. I knew before I even saw you play when I just saw your drum kit set up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was back in the day. I was just playing on a 5-piece with a bass drum and one rack tom, 2 floor toms.
And I think that Vinnie Paul too.
Oh yeah. My first drum hero and influential was Peter Criss, without a doubt. So Peter Criss out of the gate, and Alex Van Halen and Bill Ward are
not Alex Van Halen, of course.
Yeah, those are the three most important drummers as far as my DNA is concerned, I would say. I think I would hope that anybody that listens to me play would sort of understand that. And then, of course, John Bonham and Neil Peart right on the heels of that. Those are like the top 5 guys that, to me, they just do the shit. They just do it right. I love listening to the grooves. I listen to the feels. Of course, their bands are pretty great too. So, yeah, but after I'd been playing for a couple of years, I learned about Vinnie Paul, and of course Charlie Benatti. And I love Charlie, but I don't, I don't play anything like him because he's so fucking he's so fucking good. But I try. But he definitely wasn't a
Paul
huge
had
influence.
such a fucking Vinnie Paul had a groove. So he had such a ferocious, aggressive. Like if you can have an aggressive groove,
Yeah.
I mean that's how I would describe his drumming.
Yeah.
Aggressive groove.
If it, when I was playing with Chris Demers, when we were doing our metal stuff back when we were teenagers and shit, that was the thing that we would say, to ourselves was like, if this song if it doesn't groove, it doesn't work, and so we would try to write stuff that had that, that had that groove. And that's why Pantera worked as well as they did, I believe. They they got their roots. They fucking came up on you guys like ZZ Top and Van Halen and all that shit too, and that's where you learn that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of metal guys,
Can you imagine if Metallica was like Vinny, Dime, Cliff, and James?
oh my god, dude! Oh my
I
fucking
thought
god!
about that the other day, and I was just like, "Good fucking god, what a monstrous band that would be!"
Yeah, yeah. I'll give, and you know what? I'll give this to Lars. The first 3-4 records of theirs are just fucking you can't fuck with. Master of Puppets is so goddamn good.
Masterpiece.
Yeah,
His
it
are
really.
super weird. He's a very weird drummer.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
He's doing his own thing. He plays like he's the lead singer sometimes.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yeah.
And that usually works. That usually works for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
When it doesn't, when you got to fill like the fucking big dumb Tom fill and shortest straw, you just go, okay, come on, man,
buddy.
That was your moment, bro.
Right.
Okay, we'll try not to talk too much shit, but yeah, those were the dudes, and then I really love unsung drummers. Brian Downey from Thin Lizzy is so fucking good. Like his swing and his feel, talk about groove, and his musical ability to play double bass drum patterns. I really got into guys like him and Les Binks, who I talked about earlier, who played in Judas Priest for just a couple of years. He was the guy that played on Stained Class, and he played on the Killing Machine album, which is called Hellbent for Leather, I guess, here in the States, and the Unleashed in the East record, which is one of the fucking greatest.
Yeah.
God damn, he's so good. But like those, really musical double bass drummers, and then Vinnie Paul fits into that, where you're doing, you're not just like, I love Dave Lombardo and I love what he brings to the table as far as metal drumming is concerned, but like I think he put in a lot of guys' brains that all that matters is fucking just double bass drum over the top of everything. And when you listen to Dave, it isn't always that, but you can see that he kind of like opened the gate, and then from there you've got all these other guys that just took the ball and ran with it. And I like that. I certainly utilize some of that stuff in what I do, but I'm much more interested in guys who play like that.
Didn't Deep Purple? How many drummers did Deep Purple have?
Just one, only ever one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Ian Pace is he's the only consistent member.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he put that band together with Richie Blackmore and John Lord, and then of course Richie left, and then John died. So it's all him.
What a stud drummer, right?
He's the fucking best. He's like John Bonham, but like can play fast.
Right.
You know, like the Machine Head album is one of my top 10 fucking like must have. It's so good. His playing is just brilliant.
I might put that on after we're done talking tonight.
Yeah. I love it.
On vinyl.
Yeah, I got it here somewhere.
I got it.
Where's the D's? Yeah, and then do you know Mick Tucker from The Sweet?
I mean, I don't. I have like Desolation Boulevard, and that's what I have.
I don't know if you have really paid close attention to the drumming on Desolation Boulevard, but the next time you listen to it, like really listen to what he's doing, because he's the fucking reason why that band is as good as they are, in my opinion. Mick Tucker never got really nobody ever talks about him, and it's really a shame. He's passed away. In fact, he passed away, and I didn't even know about it. That's how little people fucking talk about him, which is really, really unfortunate.
It's crazy to me. I mean, we all know a lot of really talented musicians, right? Mm-hmm. Some who've had a couple of fair shots. Some people who've even had hits, but are, under-celebrated players. And it's crazy to me, like, how, there's no direct correlation between being recognized for skill and anything. Like, being good and being recognized don't go hand in hand.
Well, it's like
many incredible musicians who never get a moment in the sun.
It's really sad. It really is sad. I think about that a lot, and we all know so many talented, like you said, so many talented players that you're just like should have shined and should have been just like right up there with the rest of them. I feel like I'm looking at one of them right now there, Mike Squires, and it's just like what the fuck does it take? I kind of, I wonder about this stuff. I'm a history, fanatic, and I love learning about, musicians from the past, and I got super into, the Ken Burns jazz documentary, which led me down the spiral of like checking out a bunch of other stuff. But it just seems like, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, like people, and our great grandparents' generation, like people were really, they really respected and admired and loved artists and musicians and writers, and and valued their contributions. And I just feel like when in the 90s, when I was really trying to make a go of it, and I was watching club attendance dwindle, and people were not going out to see bands and not supporting bands and all of this stuff. It just like the music, like musicians, like what people do is just nobody gives a shit about, and they just don't. I don't know if it's because they just don't understand the hours and hours and years that people spend in their basements, like learning to do any of this shit. The courage that it takes to get out on stage and say, "Here's my fucking dick, check it out." Like all of that stuff. But I don't know. One of the things I would say with this pandemic and how it's caused everybody to slow down and to pause and reevaluate what's important. I really hope that changes some of that dynamic, not just for a selfish need where like I want people to see me, but like I just want people to connect and to appreciate art and music again.
One possibility that terrifies me is that things open up again. I know that there's going to be a lot of hesitation from people,
Mhm.
and I'll be nervous the first time I'm in a fucking crowded room.
Right.
None of us have been in a crowded room in 14 months.
Yeah.
18 months, man. And the thing that terrifies me is that we never pull out of that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
excited by the possibility that people go ape shit and there's a resurgence in going to see live music. There's, theater never died. There people have, at least, I mean, observing from New York.
right. Yeah, I don't know. It's pop. I mean, fucking. I'll say this. At this point, from what I've seen, anything is possible.
Yeah,
You know,
no shit.
any fucking thing. Just when you think it couldn't get weirder, you see that it does. Yeah, we have. Hippie Death Cult has. We have 2 nights in May at the Star Theater here in Portland that are sold out to perform our record releases May 21st and May 22nd. So it's the day that our record is coming out. We've got these gigs booked, but the numbers have started to spike again. So it's likely that we won't even be able to perform,
Oh shit.
which is really sad. I just you know, and I'm also like working on booking stuff later in the year because we're playing Psycho Las Vegas. We're going to be doing that August 20th. We'll be performing there, and so I've got a tour that we're building around that. There's the Heavy Psych Sounds festivals that are happening in Texas. I think in late September, but there's no set dates yet. So I've been working on booking a tour around that. But you know, nobody can nobody can even say like who's going to be like what venues are going to be open, and to what capacity. It's just so nuts, man.
Have you explored that stoned and dusted thing?
Yeah, well, we were supposed to perform there last year. We were on the books. We were on the calendar. Yeah.
We were there. We flew out there the year before
Oh,
and
wow.
went and saw the Melvins in Fu Manchu.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, we were booked, and that got canceled. We've been talking to those guys, and are hoping to you know to get something put together because what they're doing right now is fucking magnificent. They've been filming and recording these things and putting out releases, and um, should Hippie Death Cult be asked to be a part of that, we're gonna fucking absolutely get on top of that. Um, so yeah, now it's just a waiting game, I guess. But I think it's I didn't want to admit this a year ago, but it's quite likely that it's gonna be 3, 4, maybe even 5 years before we start to see any sort of sense of normalcy again. But if we could just get to a place where we can start playing at least some fucking shows and act like a band again, it would be. I just need that, like um, it's beyond an actual need on a human personal need to connect with people.
Right.
Like it's my job too. Like if this band doesn't perform, then what the fuck, man? Like, um, what are we all supposed to do? Weird.
Yeah.
Because I want to get to the East Coast and come and fucking, play some shows in New York.
Come on.
Hang out with you.
Come on.
Put my sweat on you.
You gotta go get yourself a gig at St. Vitus.
What's St. Vitus?
St. Vitus is the place that you want to play in Brooklyn. That's the
Okay.
place for you guys to play.
Well, I'm writing that shit down right now.
St. Vitus.
Yeah.
That's in Greenpoint, just above Williamsburg.
That's in Brooklyn.
That's right. That's the spot. That's where you guys want to play. For sure. Without a doubt, that's where you want to play.
Excellent. Yeah, the only spot that I know in Brooklyn was the Brooklyn Bowl. And when I was with March 4th, we played the Brooklyn Bowl a bunch. And that circus act fits that vibe pretty well.
Room size.
Yeah. But it's weird, having done so many different sort of gigs, like, working for you and being like, okay, what are these clubs, and trying to remember what these are, or working in March 4th and being like, this isn't going to fucking work for heavy metal, just like, where the hell do we even play? Yeah, but that's good. St. Vitus, put it in your calendar for a future date. We're coming.
Radical. I'm really excited for the records, and I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and of course I'd have to look at my calendar. I'm getting my second shot this coming Monday, and don't be surprised if your show is green lit and I show up. Great.
I will figure out a way to sneak you in.
Yeah.
You have to be my tech.
Yeah, what comes around goes around.
Yeah. I
load my shit.
Yeah, load my shit, squires. Move this gong. Can you move this 10-piece drum kit 6 inches that way, please? Good Lord, I can't fucking believe like my bandmates have allowed me to do this thing. But I will say this in regards to the drum kit and the setup. Yes, I am playing this monster fucking Tama drum kit that I fucking love, and it's a 10-piece kit. So I've got an 8 and a 10-inch tom, a 12, a 13, and a 14-inch tom, a 16 and 18-inch floor tom, 2 bass drums, snare drums, fucking 7 cymbals, and a fucking gong, and some electronics. I got I've got my electric pad set up, and and a cowbell. And I promise you that there's not a fucking piece of gear on that set that does not need to be there. Yeah, like.
When you load in and you set up your drums, are like, what's the vibe from the other drummers?
It's been interesting. Like the first few shows, especially like when I was setting up stuff, people like, this is great. Ben has this friend who he played music with for years, and they came to see us at this small club. And this guy's like a music snob and highly pretentious and whatever. And I just heard about this story later, which was wonderful. But I was setting up my gear, and this guy was just looking at me, just going, "You don't fucking need this shit, Jesus Christ!" Like inside this, who the fuck does this guy think he is? And then we played the set, and he came up to Ben and was just like, "You guys are fucking amazing. That drummer is fucking killer, and he absolutely needs all of that gear."
What about the vibe from other drummers? Do you get mixed vibes from them? Are some of them like, "Stay away from me, you fucking dick," and probably shower you with?
There's some of that for sure. Like I try to be like pretty personal and pretty great, but I'll tell you, on show days when it's hands on deck and I've got to move gear around, like if you're in my fucking way, I will run you over. Like,
I know.
Which is just an abrasive part of my nature that I'm always working on. But like for the most part, people are pretty great about it. My favorite thing, and I've heard this a couple times, is, I've got this huge ring that the gong is 34 inches, so
Nearly 3 feet.
yeah, it's a big deal. So the ring that that I used to mount it in is even bigger. It's like 40 inches or something.
Has to be. Yeah.
And so I bring that sucker in and start setting up the stand, and like inevitably somebody's like, "Is that what I think it is?" And I'm like, "You're goddamn right it is." And they're like,
How many times do you strike the gong in your set?
"A lot.
Really?
It's a lot more than you think." If you listen to the song Red Meat Tricks, which I know that you've heard,
Yeah.
there's gong all over that.
So, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I've learned how to utilize it, as a part of the music, as part of my instrument, So, there's, yeah, I don't play it in every song. It's not like I've really tried to not do this thing, which is you talk to any drummer who like starts expanding their kit, they're like, well, I put this thing on here. I guess I feel the need to use it. And I think guitar players could maybe relate if they loaded up their deck with all the pedals. They're like, well, at some point I got to use this fucking delay,
Right.
But I've really done my best to be as reserved about it as possible, and just like, and try to play it musically. And, I'll say, this is funny. There's two drummers who I've really studied harder than most. And one of them, was Neil Peart, and the other, is Ringo Starr. Cause I do that Nowhere Band thing,
Right.
Playing the Beatles stuff.
They don't
Vastly
more opposite than that. That's
Yeah.
the two ends of the spectrum.
Completely opposite. But I will say that the thing that I learned from studying both of these guys, it was the same lesson, and that was about being musical with what you do. Because like, on the surface, if you listen to Rush, you just think that these guys are just fucking throwing in notes here and there and just like shredding for the sake of shredding. But when you really dissect what Neil did with those guys, you see how much of a mirror it is of something that Geddy's playing or singing or Alex is playing, and you see that like there's some composition where he takes an idea and he expands upon it and he expands upon it, and so in every song he's not always going up to the high tom, and he's not always hitting the China cymbal. He's not always got the bar chimes going. Like when they play Xanadu, he plays that shit. Right. And then the rest of the time it just sits there waiting, and I was like, how about that? And then with like Ringo Starr, when I studied his shit, I was like, he doesn't write his drum compositions like Neil does, but he talks about this. If you read anything about him, he's just like, whatever I feel in the moment, I just play in the moment, and this is what it is. What it is. What are you gonna do?
Right.
But it's all really musical, and he's like really listening to what's happening with the song, and it's a reflection of what's coming out of the other guys. And I just thought, it's the same they're doing the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing. They just have different technical approaches to it. And I thought, well, that's what I want to do. That's how I want to play drums. I want to have my foot kind of in both of those worlds, where like, if I feel something and I hear something, I want to reflect it, and play it like Ringo would, play it like John Bonham would, play it like Ian Pace would, where like they hear something and they respond. Yeah. But also, have a pretty clear like roadmap of how I want to do it, and maybe have like really set in stone parts like Neil did, and find my voice somewhere in between,
Right.
you know. One of the hardest things, trickiest things when I was starting to write music with Hippie Death Cult was after years of playing in all of these tribute scenes and cover scene, like all the cover bands. Karaoke from Hell band, it's a huge cover band. The Nowhere, the Nobody Famous, thing that I talked about earlier. I played with with two AC/DC tributes.
Those are all parts that are already written.
Yeah, and so you're copying everybody's shit, and it at one point I was like, what the fuck what do I sound like? What do I sound like as a drummer? And do I have a voice, and am I any good at this? So like, I've spent I spent a lot of time just like going, okay, I need to dig in and focus on me, and honestly, cutting out a lot of the side projects helped out with that a lot.
Are you still doing the AC/DC thing with Steven and Doug?
In conceptually, yes.
Yeah, in theory.
Yeah, conceptually, yes. I mean, Kelly Lemieux is, he's out with Buck Cherry all the time, so it's hard to pin him down. And then Doug Rappaport, had been doing this Edgar Winter thing forever. I don't know for how much longer that's going to last. And of course, right now he's not touring. So with those two guys being in such demand, the rest of us were just kind of left at the mercy of them. And now with my band taking up so much of my time and being a priority, it's probably going to be pretty rare. Right. But I have another AC/DC tribute that I play with called Shoot to Thrill that I was just like the backup guy for, but have turned into the regular guy because Kevin Rankin, who was their drummer, plays with Flock of Seagulls now. So he's out with Flock of Seagulls and New Shoes and shit like that. So he's doing all those 80s revival bands.
Yeah.
So whenever Shoot to Thrill plays, it's usually me with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got some gigs coming up in the next couple months I'll be playing, but they know that as things open up for Hippie Death Cult, I've just got to focus on that.
Yeah.
'Cause when you're creating original music and if people are into what you're doing and there's a demand for you, you have to take that opportunity.
They say strike while the iron is hot, which is of course a blacksmith reference.
Yeah.
You do. You have to get in there. You gotta go. Like, if the door is cracked, you have to kick it open.
It's go time.
That's right. It is go time.
Yeah.
Speaking of go time, we don't have much longer.
I know.
I'm not gonna drag you through the evening, and I need to eat something. But
well, I appreciate this time at all, man.
Oh, this is the longest we've talked in a very long time since I was in Portland and we hung.
Yeah. We had a really nice phone call the other day, though. We were on the phone for a lot longer than we had been in a while. So it's been really great to connect with you more lately.
You really owned the Van Halen track.
Thank you.
Why Can't This Be Love? You really delivered. And my buddy Matt Muckle, I don't know if he's killer drummer. Mm-hmm. He played drums in the Why Can't This Be Love with Charlie Starr singing and Keith Nelson playing guitar.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
When Will I Be Loved? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. When Will I Be Loved?
Okay.
He played drums on that. He's like just a crusher drummer. Deep groove. And he was stoked. But he sent me a message. He was like, who has a drum set like that even set up? And I said, Well, that'd be go time. So my question for you is that kit that appears in the video the kit that you use in the band?
Yeah.
That's it as it
Yeah.
was set up.
Yeah. And check this out. This will flip your fucking lid. I have two of them. That's the other one. Yeah, I have my superstars that are in mahogany finish, and those are the ones that I had been playing with the band up until, through our last shows. It's the only ones that I've ever played. I fucking scored that Black Grand Star. It was a Pandemic score. And so now, and it's the same. It's almost identical configuration. Like the bass drums on my old ones are a little bit bigger. They're 24s. This one's a 22. The black kits, power toms, the other one. So yeah, I have two of these fucking things.
That's amazing.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's a dream. It's a dream.
It really is, man. And it's like I said, well, to backpedal a little bit, when I decided in LA that I wanted to play music. I wanted music to feel the way that it did when I was 10, when I was in the basement learning to play to Black Sabbath records, like I wanted to feel that same way. And I wanted to play a big fucking drum set. When I was coming up,
I remember you saying that to me when you were in LA and you were getting ready to go back.
Yeah. When I was coming up, so I started playing drums when I was 9 or 10 years old. That would have been in 85 and 86. You remember what the musical climate was like back then? Bands like Poison and shit. Everybody had huge drum kits. Like everybody had these fucking massive fucking expansive kits. Scott Rockefeller from fucking Queensryche had that fucking huge Tama kit with the chains and all this shit. Big rack systems. I was like, that shit's fucking rad. And then comes along and then all this, nobody's allowed to play big drums anymore. And I was like, what do you fucking mean? I remember going to check out this. There was a band called, what the fuck were they called? I'm glad I can't remember their name. When I was living in Seattle, I went to audition for this band, and I showed up with one bass drum, two bass drums, and they were like, no. Nope, that's not fucking gonna fly. And I was just like, who the fuck are you to tell me how many goddamn bass drums I can have when I can see your pedal board has 15 fucking pedals? Fuck you. But anyway, that's been the climate for the last, 20 years is like, no big drum sets allowed. No big drum sets allowed. And I decided, fuck that. Fuck all this shit. Fuck it. I want to play big drums. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if the stage is only big enough for my drum kit. That's the way we're going to do it. In fact, when we played in fucking San Diego, I don't know, whenever we played in San Diego, Hippie Dance Club, the stage was too small, so we set the drums up on the floor and the band was behind me. And I was like, it was amazing. It was fucking amazing. And I will always do that. I don't care now.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and fortunately...
what was the sound person's, the sound engineer's response to that?
At that particular club, funny enough that you asked, that sound person he was going off the rails. He showed up to work fucking crazy, so he was not really fucking dealing with our deal. Most of the sound, here's what happens. We'll roll into a place and the sound person will be like, Jesus fucking Christ, right? Oh God. And I've got mics. I've got all my mics. I got two bass drum mics. Like I've got all the gear. Like I'm gonna make this easy on you. But so we set up, and they're almost always just like, Jesus, whatever. And then we start playing, and it's like, oh,
right.
Sorry, I get it. I didn't know. And that feels pretty good. Because That's honestly what's happening. It's not just a bunch of bullshit, because you know when you show up and you play and you're just and nobody gives a fuck, and you can tell, you know.
Right.
So yeah, most of the sound people at first are definitely like, why, and then they go, oh, okay, I get it, great, can't wait to have you back.
Yeah. That's great. I love that.
Well, I guess knocking on my door. How about that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, this is a good opportunity for us to wrap it up, I think.
Okay, yeah.
I love you.
I love you too,
It's an
man.
honor and a privilege to be your friend and to be alive while you're alive.
Oh man, I couldn't have said it better myself.
And to have known you for so long, and I'm glad that we remain friends. And when I see you and we hang out, it's like no time has passed, and that's the kind of friend that I always want to have in the world.
Yeah, same here. Well, you're not getting rid of me, easily. I'm not going away. So, thank you. I'm really honored that you had me do this. I know that you know so many fucking great drummers and musicians, so I appreciate you taking the time to.
I wouldn't have a Drummer Awareness Month and not include you.
Yeah, well, you know. I know that. I'm glad you know that too.
I love you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
All right, see you.
Can't wait to get my records.
Yeah, they're coming, man. I got more stuff for you. Do you have I know you have the one Hippie Death Cult shirt that you wore with the. Is that just the one that you have?
Yeah.
Okay. There's you got more stuff coming.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I think probably let Eddie know I'll be in touch sometime.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, he would love to talk to you about that, and you know, you guys are cut from the same cloth as far as, you know, guitar nerd stuff.
He sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's fucking great, dude. He's my little fucking Randy Rhoads.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's pretty bitchin'.
Awesome.
It's pretty bitchin'. All right, brother. Take care of yourself. We'll talk again soon.
I love you, pal. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.